Again, this is a new webinar of MeLCi LAB. The title, as I mentioned previously, is Tackling Fake News from Media Literacy, Perspectives, Challenges and Proposals for University Students. We have the great pleasure of having here today Ana Pérez Escoda, who is a professor at University of Nebrija in Madrid, Spain. Ana Pérez Escoda, the teaching disciplines are digital communication, information communication technologies applied to education, digital competencies, and media literacy. Ana Pérez Escoda is postgraduate and teacher training coordinator and coordinator of doctoral school from 2015-2019. Also invited speaker in several international universities and researcher in University of Nebrija, media group. I also might share the URL where you can also obtain more information about the research group where Dr. Ana Pérez Escoda currently works. And also Ana is an active member in several national and European projects, such as Digitalized EU, which is financed by Horizon 2020, and Ana Pérez Escoda research interests are media literacy, digital competences, digital media literacy, and communication. So very briefly here presenting a summary of today's presentation by Ana Pérez Escoda. A set of skills integrating media literacy are expected to be guaranteed in higher education, especially after COVID-19 pandemic. In 31 of March, the Director General of World Health Organization said, we're not just fighting an epidemic, we're fighting an infodemic. And unfortunately, time has confirmed this statement, highlighting that media literacy is more necessary than ever, especially affecting misinformation, fake news, and media consumption among young people. In this presentation, Ana Pérez Escoda will present recent research involving 600 university students regarding these issues, and will be analyzed key aspects to tackle fake news by including good practices in sessions. Disinformation on younger public not only affects their ability to be efficient in a digitalized society, but also jeopardize the principles of democracies and citizens' freedom. Again, thank you very much, Ana, for being here with us. It's a great pleasure and an honor to have you here, particularly with such a important and relevant subject for all of us, younger or less young people. Unfortunately, it's a challenge all of us have to tackle. Again, thank you very much. The floor is yours. Ana, please, the sound, we're not hearing you yet. You have to unmute yourself.
Okay.
Okay,
sorry.
now we hear you. Now
okay?
we hear you. Now, yes, perfect.
Sorry, so sorry. Technology problems. Digital competencies in use. Okay, I was saying thank you very much, Celia, for your presentation. I really appreciate your words and your introduction. Good afternoon, everybody. It's really a pleasure for me being here and sharing research interests with colleagues, and I would like to special thanks to Maria Jose Brites, which is not only a colleague but a friend and a special one. So thank you very much for this invitation. I hope that this could be a conversation, really a share ideas with you about something really important and interesting as fake news in nowadays context. First of all, I would like to present you the framework. Why talk about the framework? We all of us are conscious about this, but it is important to take into account the particularities on the current context, given the major transformations that define it. Understanding this context can help us to understand what is happening and to act appropriately. Specifically, I would like to highlight the concept of global village, the digitalizations that reach all the information, the concept of convergence, digital framework related to our teaching activities, and information society as this global context that really involve us. This context gives us specific global challenges. I would like to point these 4 ones because I think they are important to make a specific attention on the issue we are talking about today. These challenges are related to new learning environments, new external agents, new demands from labor markets, and global COVID-19 pandemic situation, specifically talking about infodemic. What I would like to remark about new learning environments, I mean, we have not only formal learning environments, we now have wider ones related to online learning, e-learning, b-learning, m-learning. We have new digital tools, mobile apps, online sources. We have active learning methodologies such as gamification, cooperation learning, design thinking, collaborative learning. And in the 4th place, I would like to mention informal learning. Informal learning from platforms as YouTube, for example, or open educational resources. It's important in this context mention new external agents because they are introducing new dynamics in our current situation, professional situation, and professional challenges in universities. Which kind of new external agents? I mean, big corporations such as Google that are taking advantage in the training field, presenting their own universities. I have here notice in one of the biggest journal papers in Spain that said, Google also for universities, create your own degrees for 215 euros. In the other way, we have media including all digital media, and we have social networks emerging as important social agents for social life in all aspects. What is politics, interaction, entertainment, socialization, etc. In the 4th place, I would like to point that the pandemic situation, with the arrival and spread of COVID-19, the WHO Director General said, we are not just fighting an epidemic, we are fighting an infodemic. As we can see in this slide, numbers show the intensity of this unprecedented crisis that has provoked global lockdown and unexpected transformation, and as we all know, regarding our professional context. Specifically about this pandemic, is important for us to mention infodemic. Although this phenomenon has been usually linked to misinformation, the concept has indeed wider scope, as we are checking every day. WHO define infodemic as an excessive amount of information about a problem, which makes it more difficult to identify a solution. WHO's definition put in line one of the major problems of information, which is excessive amount of this information, true or false, equally reachable in media. As we can see in this slide, the problem with infodemic is mainly the conjunction of pandemic, media, and social media. So then we have an unprecedented situation that we should face. But let me talk a little about the previous situation, because this is new, but not new at all. The concept of fake news itself is nothing new, as Barhart wrote in 2017. That is, the ability to have an impact on what people know is an asset that has been prized for many centuries. The special issue regarding fake news in the 21st century is the huge possibility of impact and spreading offered by social media. This is the key issue. This phenomenon has been defined with different terms and different perspectives, as we have heard. We have fake news, we have misinformation, information disorder, disinformation, post-truth, whatever. The proliferation of this type of news is a problem that affects all citizens, but particularly young ones, who tend to rely on social networks to keep themselves informed. Definitely, fake news are provoking social chaos. Sorry. Fake news are general concern as well. It's important to point that this is not new, this is not specific from an area. This is a big phenomenon that have been bigger, but it has been working on it during a long time from different institutions, European Union, international organizations like UNESCO, OECD, from academic institutes. For example, we have Reuters Institute that give us specific reports on this kind of issues. And it is a general concern as well in specific organizations like Ethical Journalism Network. The European Commission, with its report Multidimensional Approach to Disinformation, report of the Independent High-Level Group on Fake News and Online Disinformation in 2019, defined the word disinformation as false, inaccurate, or misleading information presented and promoted to obtain revenue or intentionally cause public harm. In other way, the Ethical Journalism Network defines fake news as information deliberately fabricated and published with the intention to deceive and mislead others into believing falsehoods or doubting verifiable facts. All these international organizations, specific ones, academic ones, have their own report. All of them really interesting. Here we have some examples, very interesting and very current to this situation, describing how it works, what it happened, and giving us some interesting ideas on how to act and what to do in our respective professional context. Let me introduce you or give a relation between all these social phenomena related to pandemic, related to media, to social media. But I think, I hope you agree with me, directly linked with media literacy. If we have an overview about media literacy, we know that during years of this century, media literacy have been giving us international indicators to measure, to describe what is media literacy. From the perspective of UNESCO, we have 4 different indicators, which are under the first one, understand the roles and function of media and information democracy. The second one, understand media content and its issues, and its uses. Third, accessing information effectively and efficiently. And fourth, critically evaluating information and information sources. By his part, European Union give us in 2020 a specific document with 3 indicators about media literacy, participation and active citizenship, media education, and critical and creative abilities and skills. We have here two different examples, one from UK, specifically from Office of Communication, Ofcom, you might know, that defines 3 media literacy dimensions: access, understand and evaluate, and create. We have another example more from ACMA, which is Australian Communications and Media Authority, which is in charge of regulating communications and media, and they define 4 different indicators, more or less related as UNESCO. The first one, access to digital media services. The second, use and understanding of digital media platforms and services. The third one, creation of digital content. And the fourth, critical competencies. Here we have in the slides that follows, more specifically, these media literacy indicators. For example, from the Ofcom perspective, we have these 3 dimensions that describe use, navigation, management, probe, deconstruct, evaluate. From UNESCO, we have a big range of them. And from Europe, we have 3 important constructs with different sub-indicators. Well, why is this important in this context we are talking about? Because if we focus on these indicators from media literacy perspective, in different organizations, we can check that fake news is a media literacy issue. It's important to be conscious about this, because sometimes when we talk about it, it seems that like it is something related to another thing, but we need to make conscious in order to introduce, to integrate this problem into our teaching, our classes. And we have here why fake news is a media literacy issue. If we study fake news from these 4 perspectives, we are going to check how related it is with media literacy and why we have to be really committed with this situation. About media availability, everybody has a smartphone. About social media competencies, all young people are using social media with or without competencies. This is something natural that happens. Critical understanding, I'm not sure if this is clear or not. This is maybe our big responsibility to develop this critical understanding, but the fact is that they are consuming contents, they are using these platforms. So this is a very important issue, the critical understanding, and of course, access and use. So in this context, I think it makes necessary action plans from universities who are essential institutions promoting training and promoting good practices for all, specifically for our students, which are the future citizens of digital society. What I would like to share with you in this case is a research study, some data gathered from a bigger research, which has been promoted from our research group in Numedia at the University of Nebrija. These data are related to a first round, including 600 students, more or less. And here we have the basic study constructs that we have used to make this research, and are related, as you have seen before, with media literacy and specific indicators related to fake news. This research will give us a picture of the situation, a description, a specific one, and would serve to make specific actions, training actions for students using specific tools and giving them the competencies they will need to face this problem of fake news, which is really among us, all of us, and it has been defined as one of our biggest problems to face, not only the pandemic, but this problem as well. So we have these three constructs. First of all, media consumption. Is important to know the access, the use, how they use media to get informed. Social network consumption, which is important as well, as we are going to see, and fake news reception and perception. How aware are they about this phenomenon? How are they managing it? How it interferes in their reliability on media, on social agents. So this would give us a specific picture of what is happening about this issue. As you can see in this slide, we can see the media consumption, okay? In this graphic, we see that the most used among our sample to get updated with information is social networks. I think this is not new for us because we have a lot of reports, international and national reports that give us these pictures. So this is not new for us, but it is a necessary key point to start the research or this preview. What is striking here as well is that, as you can see, they barely use press to get informed, or they barely use radio, not online, neither radio receiver, just a little ones, 4.4% or 4.9% of the sample use this media to get informed. So to get started, we see that social networks, our sample said in 80.4%, that they get informed through social networks. This one. What can we see here? This is a very interesting slide. Why? We can see the relationship between the most consumed media and the media they trust the most. It is really striking that those who consume the most are the ones they trust the least. I'm not sure if you can realize both curves, but they are really striking because, for example, you see they don't consume at all information in press, which is papers, traditional papers, only 5.2%. But almost 60% declare they trust in press. So this is really what's happening. The same happened in the other extreme of these curves to social networks. As we can see, they barely trust in social networks. Only 9.8% trust in social networks. But as we have seen previously, the 80% of the sample declare to consume social networks to get informed, which is really striking. About this slide, we ask our sample about the information more consumed since COVID-19 occurred. As you can observe, the information most consumed is politics and humor. This is it more or less. I'm not sure if what would be the situation in other countries with other samples, but it seems difficult to believe that young people are aware or concerned about politics, but those were the results. So they described their interest, and they were really interested in politics. Data shown in this graphic are related to social media consumption, okay? What reveals to us? WhatsApp has been declared by fact checkers such as Maldita.is as the network most prone to hoax distribution, because the easily information can be spread rapidly to a large number of people. So here we are. We have WhatsApp, which is the platform more easily spreading fake news, but we have a large number of the sample using frequently or always WhatsApp, okay? So I think data for thinking what are they doing and what are they using. We have here big numbers for Instagram. So that gives us a picture of where are they and what are they consuming, which is really interesting. In this slide, we find results regarding social media content consumption since COVID-19 occurred. Here we say, although they are most interested in politics, as previously shown, they consume the most entertainment and culture content. Here we have humor and memes and music. So they have differences about their concerns in information and their consumption, their preferences in consumption. This slide is related to the third construct, in which we read about what is happening about fake news. So we have data for fake news reception and fake news distinction, which seems to be different and important to be differenced. About reception, here we find that almost 30% said that they frequently receive fake news, and 60% of the sample said they sometimes receive this kind of information. What happened with the distinction? As you can see, almost half of the sample said that they frequently know about if an information is or not fake. So here we find that they don't seem to be very confident about the distinction of this phenomenon. About this slide, what do we find here? We ask them for what feelings do you associate fake news with? So, because it is important to know how are they feeling about this situation, sometimes related to joking or kidding or something like that. But results are as shown here. As you can say, manipulation, distrust, and danger are the main feelings they have when we talk about fake news, which is really concerning, because this is an important situation to be aware and to get some kind of action about it. More data. As we know here, what we see here, as we know, fact-checking is a process that seeks to verify factual information in order to promote the veracity and correctness of reporting. So fact-checkers, we can say fact-checkers are considered as an effective tool to combat fake news. But in this regard, the question that arises is, are our young people using these tools? Do they know what a fact checker is? Because it only can help, it only can work if they know about it. And here are the results. Almost 60% of the sample said that they didn't know what a fact checker is. So this is an important point because it means that these tools only can work in a part of the population. So if they know about fact checkers, the following question is, have you ever used one? And we find results, as you can say here as well, from this almost 40% that say yes, they said, yes, I know what a fact checker is, only the 20% declare that they have ever used one of them. So this is really a very, very short part of the population, of the young population, using effective tools to combat this phenomenon of fake news. Here we have two different slides, this one and the other following, which are really interesting about the feeling young people have in trust and distrust. Because one of the most interesting conclusions is that this phenomenon is acting very sharply with the trust, which is really important to guarantee democracy in our countries. So, regarding distrust in social agents, as you can see, politics are the worst, it could be said. 76.6% of our sample declare they don't trust in politics, which is really warning, I would say. About social media, almost 60% said they don't trust in social media, but they declare to use the social media to get informed. So here we have a really serious dysfunction of the media use our youngest are doing. You can see results for media, journalists, family and friends, international institutions, and scientifics. In the other slide I have prepared here, we have the contrary, the trust. Why they are trusting in what social agents after all this context. Well, it's striking. I think they trust almost 65% in scientifics. They trust as well in international institutions, almost half of the sample. And here you have the results for the rest of issues. Journalists, media, and social media really have very low percentages. So this is, well, I think a very interesting starting point to think what is happening in our democratic societies, because young people have really high levels of distrust in the institutions or agents that seem to be important for a democratic good functioning, which are social media, politics, journalism. Young people don't trust in them. So here we are. What to do? What to do from our context? What tools we should integrate in university, but in an active way? I mean, in our teaching sessions, in our classes, in our disciplines, we can integrate them in a transversal way, because they touch every discipline in this context we have described. First of all, we can focus on the International Federation of Library Associations recommendations. They are really helpful. We have here how to stop fake news. First of all, consider the source, read beyond, check the author, supporting sources for this new, check the date, is it a joke? Check your biases, ask the expert. Really, these are all issues we can integrate in our communication disciplines specifically, maybe in students' activities, in order to get good practices with this kind of informations. We can be inspired with initiatives. For example, I have chosen these ones. I think they are really interesting. UNESCO initiatives, we find MeLCi, that is a project to combat disinformation, fostering the use of social media. This is really encouraging because it believes that from education we can reach good practices. We have another interesting project from Erasmus+, Media Literacy and Disinformation is a campaign launched by the European Commissioner. Another interesting initiative is lie detectors, critical thinking. This is a project that aims to turn school children in Europe aged to 10 to 15 into powerful lie detectors. The thing is, why not to put this kind of projects into university? Because it seems schools are really active in this kind of initiatives, but universities sometimes are less active, let's say. In another hand, we have tools, specific tools to integrate in these activities or dynamics that we can name as, for example, to check information. We have websites like Neutral, Maldita, or Factcheck.org. They are specifically to check information, but we have, all of them are for free. We have as well checkers, fact checkers for images and videos, which is really interesting to use them in classroom, in activities. You know, we have students, our young people in classes are mostly visual. They are all the time, as we can see before, in Instagram, WhatsApp, just sharing images, videos, and how to check these images or videos are fake news. We have these three, for example, these three free tools like are Invid, TimeEye, or Google Images, as you would know. All these three work as extensions. You can install them for free in your browser. So you can check if you receive a video or an image, if it is true or false. So this would be really challenging for them, for us, introduce these practices in our classrooms in order to foster good practices which is intended to be the best way to clarify for them not only the phenomenon, but the tools they can use to face or to be prepared. So, too much talking. Concluding, because I think it could be very interesting if we can share some ideas or impressions. It's important to be all that things, to be aware, to be prepared, to be trained, to be conscious, to be proactive. This is a claim for us teachers from university specifically, because I think, as I have said, that from university sometimes we are not as active as we should. We find a lot of initiatives from schools, but from universities sometimes it's like hardly. We are very busy with another things, and it's difficult to be aware of this. But I think it's worth, because this is a really a big problem for us, as Celia said at the beginning, for us adults, for our students, for our children, and for all citizens in general. And if we want to really combat and face this situation, we should stay all these things I have said. I think, I'm not sure what are your impressions. I would be really pleased to hear them. Thank you very much for your attention. If there are anyone who are interested in participating in this study, you can contact me, and we can work together in this research, which is really in the first stages. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Anna, for your excellent talk. And if I may put forward the first question, and then I also ask all the participants in this session to put forward your questions first via chat, so it's more easily manageable. The first question that I'd like to ask you is regarding the study that you have conducted with the 600 students. You have applied a quantitative survey, correct?
Yes.
Are you aiming to conduct it every year? What are your plans in terms of expanding the study and addressing what you've mentioned right now in terms of participation? What would be your expectations for other researchers to be able to join?
You know that research is like an ongoing process, that it will be on and on. It will be very, very interesting to make it transversal year by year. I think this is very, it could be hard or difficult because we can't reach the same people. That could be the most interesting. Just make a transversal study, checking and analyzing which is the evolution. This would be really, I think, difficult. Our objectives now is to make it international. We are trying to make it in some countries from Latin America, maybe some country in Europe. Of course, you are invited if you want. And just compare and see what is the situation in other countries, because we are talking about an alive phenomenon. Yes. So this year results are in a way, and next year will be in another way. Yes. So we are just expecting what is happening with this and see what happened. We have another interesting study, ongoing study about the analyzing media discourses in social media, how they engage with young people. I'm not sure how we are going to relate this, but you know, we are just making some bearings in this big picture of our reality, our current reality now.
Very well. So I have already several questions. I'm going by the order in which they are here in chat. It's from Carlos Souza regarding fact checkers. They are a crucial tool, of course, but nowadays I also sense some disbelief even in fact checkers, linked with the idea that they are controlled. What are your thoughts on this?
Yes, sure. As we have seen in this study, the big problem we have now, the big problem, I was looking this this slide. Our biggest enemy now, I think, is the distrust. So I'm agree with you that we live in a moment that we don't trust no checkers, no politics, no. It's a very difficult time for information, I would say. Mm-hmm. Fact checkers are a tool, just a tool, and it would depend on, as you have said, interest is what enterprises are behind. So I think the best way we can combat this phenomenon is with good practices and education. Everything starts with good practices, and we have tools to check. We have ways to make activities with our students, to check with them sources, media, authors of new, and we can analyze deeply this new and specific news. And we have a lot of sources, not only fact checkers, which they are not clearly functioning because they are not being used by youngest population. So I don't think they are effective tools.
Mm-hmm. Now from Ana Jorge, who also thanks for the talk, regarding their interest in politics, you were surprised. Could this be social desirability or about how the questions were posed? Could you tell a bit more about that? And also, Ana has a second question, will these tools work on WhatsApp or on browsers? But probably we'll start with the first one. So regarding politics, could this be social desirability? Or how about how the questions were posed, and to develop a bit further?
This is not a question, an in-depth question. I mean, this is a question only for perceptions. I think that the properly thing for example, this data would be, or in the future, make a qualitative research in which we can question people, young people, this kind of distrust in a deeper way. This is only perception. I know this is this is not significant, put it just like this. This is only descriptive. As I have said before, this is only a first stage of the picture, just being having a first sight, an overview of the picture, I've seen, okay, those are the hot points, you know, and I think in order to know specifically what happened with this, the proper thing would be a qualitative research with interviews, with not knowing only perceptions, but thinking and political thinking, and, you know, just going further.
So before we go to the other question, Ana Jorge raised their hand. Probably she wants to rephrase clarify. Yes.
My question. Hi, Ana. Thanks so much for the talk. My
Thank you very much.
Curiosity was about when you said they were interested in politics.
Yes.
About the topics of their interest. and you said you were surprised, and I would be too.
Yes.
So my question really is, how do you explain this this unexpected result?
I think they are interested actively in politics, but the problem is they don't trust in politics. You know, there is an absolutely distrust in people who are every day at TV, on social networks, our politics that doing this this kind of behavior that really make a bigger distrust, not only in young people, in adult people as well. So the point is, they are interested in this, what is happening, what is going to happen with me, with my work, with my studies, with my university, but I don't trust in whatever you said. So this is a bigger social problem, because if the population, the citizens, do not believe in their institutions, the democratic pillars are in danger. So data for think. I think we should think, you know, this is only a very a research, only 600 students, really little, with limitations, but it says something. It said something. I believe if we can make it bigger in other countries, maybe we could start to make bigger conclusions and more definite. But something is happening, and I think that we should be aware, because our young people, our future citizens are saying, we are interested, but we don't believe in your institutions, politics, journalists, media. This is really a problem, that we adult people who live in the 20th century, we live an era where we believe in media. We know there were manipulation, interest, but we believe in our media. But today, young people that are consuming social media don't believe, don't trust in what they find in this context. So it's a big dysfunction to think about it, I think.
Well. So if I may put, we have still a few more questions here. Manuel Marques Pita, who also thanks for your talk, wondering if you could provide more socio-demographic information on the participants in this study, and did you see any difference in the responses by people of different genders, social class, region?
We are working on it. I can give you more demographic information. The sample was between 18 years old and 25. Okay, so we have different age range, but young people. I mean, we could say Zeta generation, if you allow me. I know this is a confusing term because there are a lot of interpretations about the generations, but more or less from 18 to 25. We are just beginning with the analysis. I don't know if we have differences between gender. Next month I will be publishing. I expect whole results about it. Maybe it could be, results would be different from a gender perspective. That could be interesting. I don't know, sorry, I can't give you more data.
So another question from Sofia Caldeira, also thanking for the presentation, wondering if you distinguished between different actors within social media and websites in the questionnaire, and for example, if students followed traditional news institutions or science communicators in their platforms.
No, we haven't go further with these issues. We have a lot of questions. The questionnaire is, I think, 102 items, different items. So there are a lot of information. And I cannot give you a wider perspective, so sorry, because this is only first data, first stages. I suppose that next month we will be able to give more data about this. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. So now another question from Cassia Irish. We tend to pay attention to young people when it comes to media literacy, but it seems very little attention has been paid through studies about consumption of fake news between elderly people via WhatsApp above all. How do you foresee this next trend? And also congratulations for the presentation.
Thank you very much. In this first stage, we have focused with young people because we have planned to make specific actions in our university related to this issue. So, of course, it's very interesting to study this problem, more focus on fake news, more focus not only young people, but adults and elderly. But this specific study is made with the idea of design specific plans to get introduced in communication, audiovisual, marketing, and all the degrees we have in our university, just with the objective on be proactive, being aware of this problem that we know is something that is not being integrated properly in the curriculum of all these studies. So this is the reason.
Mm-hmm. So the second question of Ana Jorge, what would these tools work on WhatsApp or on browsers used on smartphones? Anna, can you elaborate a little bit more on which
so
tools, please?
So Anna showed some,
yes,
some
here,
tools,
I can it for you. Yeah.
But you were also talking about how many people access and exchange information. Maybe also Kasia was referring to this. So would we have some available tools also for this consumption on via WhatsApp, for instance, and mostly on smartphones?
Specifically for WhatsApp, what you can do is to install this, for example, those are only a few. You can install the tools for images and videos in your smartphone, okay? You can install it in your smartphone, your iPad or your tablet, your laptop, your computer, and when you receive, for instance, in WhatsApp, you receive some video or some image, you can active those and just upload it, and they return if this is a fake news, if this is only rubbish, if you allow to me, or this is true. This is how it works.
Mm-hmm. Very well. I believe that most all the questions which were written in chat were already put forward to Anna. But also may I ask other participants if also they want to have some other extra comment or put forward any other question, please feel free to do it. We still have a few more minutes before we finish the session.
I think it would be more useful if when we have an active plan and we can maybe explain what activities we have introduced in classes with different degrees, and what kind of specific tools we have used, because here we have only a little one. There are a lot of ways and dynamics. So I hope I can come back and tell you results, more definite results, because this is only first stages and in the beginning.
provided lots of food for thought, and of course it also shows that there are different, for instance, the issue of trust, which probably is one of the dominant ones, is really concerning.
Yes, I think we have the responsibility to give them a society in which they can trust. I know this is like a very big idea, but I think it should be necessary. We have to be responsible as teachers in the university, because if university prepares our students to face challenges in the 21st century, I think this is a must in our activities and in our, in our curriculum.
There's here another question of Ama Toumé. Thank you for an interesting and well done presentation. How Twitch can be a way to spread fake news in such way?
Oof. Twitch is not a very used network in our sample. I know Twitch and another social networks like Clubhouse, they are arising as bigger tendencies, trends in social network use. I don't know how specifically we can combat fake news in Twitch. It will depend people in the room, as everything. But I will say the same I have said before. I think it's education, good practices, trust would be the best tools we will have to combat. Because if you are in a Twitch room and you have someone just making or doing or saying or sharing things that are not true, and there are a lot of people that can be able to demonstrate these people or these news are fake, this would be the best. People prepared and aware how to face this and how to share with others good practices.
Very well. By the way, in Spain, besides University of Nebrija, what other universities do you see as being equally passionate about the subject of media literacy, and particularly on addressing the issue of fake news?
We have colleagues in Barcelona, in University UAP, University of Autonomous University of Barcelona, that they are really active in media literacy. They have Professor José Manuel Pérez Tornero, I'm not sure. He is chairing UNESCO. He's really proactive. We have as well colleagues in University of Navarra, where we are working with Professor Charo Sábada. She's working as well with Sonia Livingston. Well, there are a lot of people, I think, but obviously there are universities more proactive. I think this is an issue a lot of colleagues in other universities have in mind, but I'm not sure if we are actively doing things to combat this. We all know the theory, but it's difficult to make it actively.
Very well. So if there are no further questions, probably I can again thank you very much, Anna, for your excellent presentation and also for showing your availability to spread the knowledge that you've acquired so far and to establish connections with other universities and other colleagues. Maria José, I would end out the session to you, so for the final words. And again, thank you very much. And thank you all also for being here with us.